What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the original cop of attitude, Zeke Arkham, the notorious COP. And I'm doing this on my YouTube page just because this is probably going to be longer than my usual Instagram posts and all that. But I've been getting a lot of questions and a lot of comments about Scott Adams and what he said and some of his video. And people have been asking me, what do I think? Especially on Twitter. A couple people on Instagram have asked me, what do I think? And there's a lot to unpack in this video. But first of all, let's take a look at what Scott Adams actually said, because there's just a lot to unpack in the video, and let's take a look at it. Once my computer gets up,
So if
and here we go.
are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people.
So let's stop this for a second. This is the part of the video that I don't like, because he's generalizing now, and he's saying, anyone who is more of a racist and is a segregationist would hear this, and they would say, get away from black people. Good, bad, whatever, get away from black people, off of a poll. Basically, the premise behind this was there was a poll asking some black people. Whatever was in this targeted group, they asked, what do you think of white people? And apparently in this target group, because I certainly wasn't polled, then again, I might not be black because I didn't vote for Joe Biden, but certainly within this group of black folk, they asked them, do they like white people, or do they think white folks are okay, or whatever the poll said. And 47% of them, or something like that, said no. So based off of that poll, Scott Adams now is saying this. And to someone who is racist, because I went down a whole racist rabbit hole on Twitter, they would hear this as affirming their racism, which is if you look on Twitter, all the racists came out the closet, all the bona fide. I'm not calling Scott Adams a racist just yet, but all of them came out of the closet on this, and they were all like, hell yeah, we need to get away from black people. So that's the part of this video that I didn't like and I didn't agree with. But let's keep going.
Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. Right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population. Because unfortunately, there's a high correlation between the density. This is according to Don Lemon, by the way.
By the way, Scott, Don Lemon is not the guy you want to be quoting. He's not the guy. But let's unpack this some more. Basically, he's saying that because the black people in this particular poll felt that way, that he now feels need to get away from black people, which again, I'm not going to call Scott Adams a racist, but this could have been cleaned up. I get he's doing this all based on emotion, and sometimes in the heat of emotion, you say things and you might not be able to clear it up the way you want to, or really elaborate the way you want to. However, to base this on a poll where I don't even know the sampling size, they could have went to, I don't know, they could have went to, South Central LA. Who knows? I don't know how many white folks are walking around South Central LA, but they could have went to South Central LA and said this. I don't know. But again, just to base this off of a poll, I disagree with. However, I mean, I spoiler alert, I get the gist of what he's trying to say, but to base this off of one poll, I thought was a little he got ahead of himself. But let's go.
Here I'm just quoting Don Lemon when he notes that the when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So,
Okay, and to unpack this, you know what? That I can't disagree with. Listen, I grew up in South Jamaica, Queens. I now live deep out in Long Island, on Long Island. You have to say on Long Island, or else they come after you. But I did it because I had a family. I did it because I wanted my daughter to have a better quality of life than I had growing up. I wanted her to have better schools. I wanted her to be safe. I didn't want her to face gangs and drugs and everything else. And she's not facing that here. And yeah, the racial demographics are different, but I did what I had to do for my family. I wasn't gonna stick it out and say this is my neighborhood. No, I wasn't. So to that degree, he's correct, and I'm going to discuss that more. But to that degree, he's correct. He's not wrong.
I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white.
Okay, so I mean, I think we're going to stop that right here. We've seen enough. Um, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And I've actually said this for a while now that the problems in the black community have to be solved within the black community. The drug problems, the violence, the fatherlessness, the poverty, everything in the black community has to be solved within the black community. You can't wait for a politician to come in and save you. You can't wait for, the church to come in and save you. Even though the church would be a huge part, the black church used to be really instrumental in black neighborhoods, and they got away from that. But you can't wait for the church to step in and do it. You can't wait for somebody else to come in and save you. When I used to work in a really rough neighborhood, I would see people running from the train to their apartments, like literally running. During the winter, they were sprinting. It was like a full out sprint. They were, power walking, just trying to really get home as quickly as possible. During the summer, it was slower because it was still daylight, but they weren't messing around. They were trying to get home. And one day I asked one of them, hey, listen, I see you run every day. What are you trying to do? And that person's answer to me was, I'm trying to get home before it gets dark. Because once it gets dark, basically after 5 p.m., that's when all the criminal element comes out. They sleep till about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They wake and bake. They hang out for a second. And then 5 p.m., they start making their way down. During the school year, they're out even earlier. During the summer, usually 5 p.m. is usually when they're out. But during the school year, because they're coming home from school around 3, 4 o'clock, they're out by 3, 4 o'clock. So, I mean, there was a whole mix up there. And I used to ask, like, well, why don't you and everybody else get together? Like, let's, get together with the local precinct. And they were like, no, I'm not doing that because I'm concerned for my safety. So they've effectively scared the criminal element, which is actually a very small part of the community, has effectively either scared or traumatized the rest of the community into almost like a compliance by fear or rule by fear. And in order for these communities to get better, they're going to have to fight back against that criminal element. It's not gonna be the cops that just come in and swoop in, because the cops get protested against every time they have to use force. We're not talking about excessive force. We're not talking about police brutality. We're talking about just a basic use of force. You see it with BLM. who has done nothing for the black community. You see it for Al Sharpton, who has done nothing for the black community. You see it from all these groups, Sean King, Tariq Nasheed, everybody who have done nothing except stoke hate and division. And I've said this for a while now. You know, Scott Adams, his response. I'll admit, when I first saw it, I was pissed. I saw that and I went like, "Who the fuck? Like, what? How can he say something like that?" But then I got my emotions out of it and I watched it again, and I kind of started to understand where he was coming from. I'm going to show you another video, which I've been saying for a while now, is the opposite of what Scott is saying. And when you have videos like this, you start wondering when the
Superior
pushback is going to
at.
come.
What exactly are white people superior at?
They're real good at violence.
Violence.
Genocide. It's like stealing people's lives just because they feel like it.
If you are white and you know this is happening and you say nothing, then you're a killer too.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Insecurity, pretending,
Fear.
Being fearful of nothing.
Being ignorant.
Blame.
Letting their egos control their every move. Superior at being dicks.
What exactly are white people superior at?
oppression,
Gaslighting. Lack of.
So you have that video, and no one's criticizing that video. Those people are all happy to say that video. I can find a bunch of videos just like that. You know, you have the Proud Family, you know, the Disney cartoon, who's now openly advocating CRT and openly advocating reparations and all that. I've been saying for a while there's going to be a pushback. There is going to be a pushback from white people who aren't racist but are sick and tired of being accused of it. White people who have the best of intentions and who genuinely just want to live their lives alongside people of whoever, just good people, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian. If you're a good person, they'll live right alongside you. They don't care what color you are. In my neighborhood, they don't care about my color. They see it, but they don't care about my color. You know, there's other people of other different races and backgrounds. As long as you're a good person, they couldn't care less what you look like. But these people, these same white people, are being tired of being accused of racism and being accused of bigotry just for small, innocuous things. And there's going to be a pushback. And I've been saying that for a while. And from what Scott Adams said in his video, and a lot of people who are agreeing with it, we're not talking about the bona fide racists out there. We're talking about people, middle of the road people who don't have a racist bone in their body, but are now hearing what he has to say. And they're saying to themselves, he ain't wrong. There's going to be a pushback. And if you keep listening to these idiots who are writing and animating the Proud Family, idiots like Al Sharpton, idiots like Sean King, these people who profit off of racism and bigotry and segregation and telling black folk that they're oppressed over it and over it and over again, if you keep listening to them, there's going to be a pushback. And we're going to be back where we were before during the civil rights era. And now there's going to be just more fighting back and forth, and nothing is going to get solved or accomplished. Nothing. So am I mad at Scott Adams for his video? No, he ain't wrong. And people need to listen to what he's saying, because there's going to be a lot more of it coming, I think. And we need to head this off so that we can actually live out a dream of being one and being together. And that's basically all I got to say about that. Zeke Arkham, Cop with Attitude, got your 6. Bye.